Alright, what's up guys? Thanks for hanging out with me again on another episode of Monster Hunter Get Geek series right here. I'm actually going to do a tutorial today for you guys for the Insect Glaive. Right now we're heading up to the crib, El Chateau de Einstock, if you know what I'm saying. Actually, I don't live here anymore. I live up here now. I'm sure you guys have already got to the part where they move you over, move all your shit to like a really nicer crib. Which I was about to say, like, about time, man. Like, I think it comes with like an aquarium and you can throw animals up in it, like anything that you catch. So I've been like bug catching tons of fucking shit. I'm loving that. But anyway, today we're doing some tutorial on the Insect Glaive, on how to master your Insect Glaive. So one of the first and major things that I want to talk about are basically the basics. So we all know that we get like the bone glaive and the iron glaive pretty much starting off at the beginning, and then we know that there's variations, and a lot of us kind of stick to basically one glaive and kind of upgrading that one over and over and over again. I gotta tell you right now, it's better that you have more than one glaive. You spend those resources, you spend the time, you do the hunts to get those resources, because in order to do those badass moves that you see in that preview that it shows you at the beginning, you really got to basically custom fit your glaive for the majority, like top 3 types of monsters: your flying type, your fast agile ones, and then your fucking heavy hitters, which are a little bit slower in the gameplay. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you my or one of the tree lines here, just kind of an example to kind of break it down and give you an in-depth detail of it. We all know that if you stay with that ore tree and you boost up all the way to the very end of that ore tree, yeah, you pretty much have a sharp-ass, hard-hitting motherfucking glaive. But in reality, you can break off those elements in order to work for your advantage. And they're also going to help your Kinsects, you know, the little bug that, you know, flies around and every time you're swinging at trees and shit. It's also going to boost up their agilities and also their bonuses on top of that. So they go hand in hand, which I'm not going to get too much in the Kinsect just yet. We will in a little bit. But as you can see, there are multiple trees that you can go on, and they all have different attack type. They have different affinities and different elements. And as you can see at the bottom right hand side, Kinsect bonus. So see how that one says blunt boost? So as it goes and it makes contact and hits, it'll do blunt damage with a fire element or a water element like this one for 60. And then that's all on top of the initial attack that you have right off the bat. Let's see. For this one right here, this does a thunder element, which also helps as a paralysis. If you have a paralysis Kinsect on there, as well as a speed boost on top of that. So you really got to mix and match in order to figure out what type of playstyle you want to go at it. You really want to basically break down all the elements and all the extra bonuses that you can get, and then basically categorize those into maybe 3 different types of glaives that you're going to have and be fighting with. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of times you'll go you know, toe to toe with a monster, and the type of glaive that you're using is just gonna be fucking trash, like hands down. You'll be hitting, you'll be doing sick combos, you'll be mounting maybe 3-4 times a game, which we'll get into that a little bit later on. And you know, it'll take you basically a third of the time longer than it would as if you got the correct you know, glaive and Kinsect combination. So other than that, the only other things that I can possibly think of when it comes to building up your glaive is just to make sure that you know what kind of player you are. Dissect yourself before you dissect your glaive. Now, if we take a look into the Kinsects themselves, there's a lot that goes into it on that play type. Once you figure out how it is that you want to play, if you're more of up in the action, maybe you want the type of Kinsect that does a lot of heal. So that way, every time you know, smash into that monster and you're starting to like hammer down on that dust, all that dust will start healing you while you're taking that damage. If you're more of a strategic type of player, maybe you want a paralysis, maybe you want a sever type. You know, it really just depends on what type of player you are. But for the most part, building into these Kinsects, in my personal opinion, the Moldron is probably going to be the best one for that variations, at least right now where I'm at in the game. The favorite one that I use is a Ladytarge or something like that. But in the Cauldron lineage, you can boost it up. That's typically the ones that everyone starts off with. So the Sever Poison, you see all that purple little dust around. And that thing is volatile, man. If you upgrade that to the highest of levels, I mean, I can't see the highest of level stats, but I can only imagine when all the times that I've used it so far up to the highest level that I had it at that time, it would put monsters on their ass, and it would just have them like sitting there queasing and shit, look like they're gonna throw up. So that on its own is a super useful tool, especially if you're a hardcore team player. If you're a hardcore team player and you realize that maybe on your team you got 2 guys, fighting with crossbows, 1 guy with, like a great sword or something like that, and you have the Insect Glaive, paralyzing your monster during that fight would be completely beneficial. So that way, your gunners can really set down some traps or lay down some heavy fire. Now, if you look at this one's blunt and poison. That one's blunt and paralysis. That one's blunt and heal. So if you notice, as you go on for the Moldron, most of them are going to be that blunt type of attack hit. Now, when you go into elements is something that you can completely adapt to whatever you want. So let's say you have a sever or like this one right here, sever and paralysis. All right, I haven't added an element to this one, so it says none. But if you go back and add it an element, you can have 2 of the same exact Kinsect when it comes to their dust effect and their attack type, but their elementals can be 2 completely different things. So that way you're setting yourself up for complete success when you're going up certain type of monsters. This one right here is my favorite, the Lardatarge. It is absolutely awesome. It is a blunt paralysis, so it does blunt damage right off from that hit. It also has really high blunt damage, so that way I can use the environment to my advantage. So things that are hanging from the top, I can definitely take a shot there. I don't have to do multiple shots. I don't have to use like a scatter nut in order to do damage to drop something from the rooftop or the ceiling top. And then on top of that, the paralysis, the more and more that I basically lay dust down on top of him, he's gonna be either falling over up on his side for no apparent fucking reason. Well, I mean, it's the paralysis, but it just looks like he's just falling over, or he's just gonna be sitting there standing still. So the next thing I want to get into here is the actual fighting type. Now just remember that you can lock onto your monsters, but without good camera, what do I want to call it, discipline, if you don't know how to maneuver the camera, you're going to be doing that shit a lot. You're going to be opening up your glaive and you're going to be shooting out your Kinsect. And if you wondered right now why he kind of just hovers there, or why he goes out but nothing really happens, it's because you didn't shoot him towards an enemy. For an example, so that's firing the Kinsect, right? So he goes out and he lays dust. So we're all used to that. We're all used to shooting that. And he'll literally just hang out there and keep attacking your opponent for a while, laying down that dust. So that way you can outmaneuver your opponent and kind of basically use that dust to your advantage. So this one right here is the poison type dust. So obviously when you slam into it, it explodes. And then now you've released poison towards, your monster, the monster that you're hunting. Now, on that top left-hand corner, you see those little indicators right there. It's a red, 3 little, it will be the 1, 2, 3 of the diamonds, and then that little yellow bar. So what I want you to remember is that yellow bar is the stamina of your Kinsect. So you can shoot out your Kinsect and let him just hang out there attacking, laying down dust, but once he runs out of stamina, that's it. He has to come back to you, which means you can't use him for any of the other advantages. Now if we look at those diamonds right now, I have a red light lit up, and these are basically bonuses that are given to you, because you can actually, depending on the different parts of the monster, when you send out your Kinsect, and this is using aim and then hitting triangle, so it's harvest the extract, and then you recall it with circle. Of course, it uses stamina, so you have to keep an eye on that, and you don't have to do it for too long. Once that Kinsect is lit up a certain color, you can call him, retrieve him back, and he will go ahead and give you that extra bonus. So let me break down the colors. Red actually stands for damage, so you're going to get a damage boost on your glaive, any kind of damage. Now the white stands for speed. There is, let me see, the other one, there's a green one which you don't see very often. I think I've only seen him with Legiana or whatever, the big flying bird in one of the maps out in Corals. That's the only time I've ever seen green. And then there's orange, which is knockback damage. It's pretty much like extra shield. Which I honestly don't even care for orange, because I get knocked over all the fucking time regardless, even with that perk being on there. But I can see a significant difference from white, especially using the Insect Glaive. You're doing a lot of aerial rolling, outmaneuvering your opponent, or at least you should be. At least that's the way I play. So having that white perk is just badass. That extra speed goes a long way, and that extra damage, when I can go in there and when I can get in there and lay down some damage, the damage will be detrimental to that monster. So when you're talking about sending out the Insect, yeah, now you're wondering, all right, cool. Now I know what these little diamonds are for. I want those extra perks. How do I get them? A lot of times when you shoot the head, that's going to give you extra damage right off the bat. The mid torso is around speed. The tail is one of two. The tail is either going to be the health or it's going to be the knockback damage, and I believe that's depending on the monster. That's what I've found out so far. Now you guys are used to the same type of attacks, basically kind of just, you know, button mashing combos over and over again. You know, triangle, triangle for a whole bunch of heavy hits. Circle. What I can tell you when it comes to the type of attacks, circles are really meant for killing space. So in the middle of a combo, if you need to maneuver to your left or to your right, using circle towards a direction, he will do a light attack in that direction, so that way you kill the space gap between you and the monster. And then triangle is meant for doing some heavy damage. As you can see with the red bonus attribute that I have on there, he was doing 26, 36 damage on the hits. Easy. And of course that is with, you know, still a green sharpened blade. That will obviously diminish as your blade diminishes. So but yeah, circle is literally meant just for killing those gaps, and you just move the direction that you need to go by continuously by continuously hitting circle over and over. You're doing basically just a whole bunch of light attacks. Alright, so now let's go ahead and go over the aerial attack kind of method. So we launch, you know, the idea is you launch the Insect. It lays down the dust. While you're out maneuvering the opponent, moving around, you launch. As long as you make contact with a circle, when you make the attack, it'll automatically set you up for the next jump attack, basically. And you can either do a circle or a triangle. Triangle being that heavy attack. That's what I just ended that with towards the end. Now, for instance, let's say you have the monster that is now out maneuvering you. It's not, obviously these monsters aren't standing still. So see how I hit X and it's called a mid-air evade. So yes, you can use it to get away, but you can also use it to set up or head the direction that the monster's heading in order to you know, circle and then land the attack. Now the distance when you evade up in the air is equal to the distance when you just do a circle attack. So once you get used to it, once you get more accustomed, you'll evade, you'll get used to that distance that you've traveled, and then you'll know that you can travel the same amount of distance towards the direction your monster by doing a circle attack. And as long as you land at least one of those hits, just even by the edge, it'll set you up and you can continue to do combo and combo. See, watch away, hits, moves, on to the next one, barely touches, it set me up and then pushed me over. And then push me over again. I can continue that line of and chain of attacks over and over, at least until my stamina runs out. Now with the perks set up, using evade is very, very important, because with your speed perk you can be able to move the camera just well, you're moving quicker, so you need to be able to move the camera a lot quicker in order to see where you're heading, which direction you're moving towards. And that's why I say that camera control, it has to be disciplined. You have to be on point with your camera control, as well as your directional pad, your L stick. Now, if I was unclear about anything, or you just want some more information about certain steps, how-tos, any kind of information, you just let me know. Leave a comment. I'll go ahead and do the research for you. I'm definitely not gonna lie to you. If I don't know it, I'll just try to figure it out. But about 20%, no, I'd say 40% of this is all just trial and error and learning the way of the Force. You know what I'm saying? But the other half, the other percentages, it's all in the game. There's, the manuals and the guides that you can actually go back and reassess and look at. Alright, so now onto some actual gameplay footage of these attacks, and I'm gonna kind of break them down as they lay out. And I'm not gonna lie, man, this Androth, I was just gonna go back to the arena and fight him because he's a badass creature, and I thought I'm all upgraded on my gear, so it'll totally be, super easy. Nah, man, not at all. This fucker's tough, dude. I'm not even gonna lie. Me and my buddy were talking about it, that even going back and getting the materials for like armor or the weapons, it's tough. He's a tough character. But the key of this, of using the Insect Glaive itself, is actually letting the Insect himself do a lot of the work for you. and I'll show you what I mean. So right now I have no buffs on whatsoever, and you can see how slow I'm evading, running around, all that, all that shit. There's not a lot that I can do other than just attack him head on. And if I were to attack him head on, it'd be like 10 damage, 8 damage, 12 damage, maybe 20 tops. It would literally suck. But if I lay out that Insect, look at that, it made contact with the head, so he's bringing back the red. And he's now laying down all the extra poison. That poison itself, each one of those little fireflies, is like 10 to 12, easy. And being the fact that right now I've mounted him and I'm on his back, with enough of that poison around, see how his mouth is like dripping the poison? With enough of that poison, it's going to do a lot of the work. And in normal situations, it wouldn't. Without that poison, I would literally spend about double the time trying to get this guy. So please use your Insects when available. Now, obviously we've mounted him, and there's something that I want to go over. When mounting, you definitely don't want to just stab him with like your normal knife. You want to move back and forth from the head all the way to the tail, just back and forth, and you can hold on to R2, and it'll allow you to stay mounted to him even if he's trying to buck you off. So when you end him going down, see if you saw, I don't know if you noticed, but I launched the Insects. Let me go ahead and replay that real quick. Okay, so starting from the tail, I use triangle, and I work my way up towards basically the head. So that type of attack does far more damage, okay, in a faster amount of time when you're mounted on him. And you literally do that from head to tail, tail to head, head to tail, back and forth. So instead of just sitting there and stabbing him and stabbing him and stabbing him, and then you end it with like a slash killer move, this will allow you to do it maybe 2 or 3 times. Now right now he's trying to thrash me, so I was holding on, so I wasn't able to complete that. But now that I was able to hold on, because it starts, like, the indicator grows red in the bottom left corner. So that's when you brace yourself for a buck, for him to buck you off. Okay, so now I go in for the killer slash attack. Now my weapon's already at yellow, so I'm not doing heavy super duper damage, even though I do have that red buff on there. But what I am going to do, at this point, most people would go in and start taking mad hits on him, right? And she's like, oh, let me just kill him right here, or try to kill him. You're not going to kill him like this, and if you do, then you got lucky, bitch. All you need to do at this point, launch that Insect, okay? Boom. Insect is now white. Alright, I'm laying those hits. The Insect is now doing, is going to give me the extra booster. He's also laying extra poison. Now, instead of just going in there at the belly and starting to swing, I'm actually making a significant amount of damage towards him. And then on top of that, getting that extra Insect boost, that speed boost. So he didn't have enough stamina to keep tagging him right there, but that's okay. He moved over this direction. And that's generally about it. It's going to be a back and forth game of you launching that Insect to get the attributes that you need or that you want to use to better your fighting skills, and then letting your Insect do the majority of the work. Not 90%. I would say a good 40% the Insect is doing the majority of the work for you. That poison will tire him down, and eventually it will do more damage than you could possibly do in that period of time. Now that also works with the paralysis. The paralysis is going to pause him, but now the paralysis works in a different manner. So the poison, yes, it's killing him over time, and that's why poison is one of the starters that they give you, because it's also going to help you if you know how to use it the correct way. But a paralysis would be good on more of a team setting, when you have a team with you, because if you have a whole bunch of guys that like to use the type of blades that are up in, like right up in their faces and attacking, then what you need to do is paralyze that, so that way this guy isn't, freaking carding every, couple of minutes because he doesn't have enough potions or something like that. If he's spending more time healing himself than he is actually fighting, then at this point, it's obvious that maybe that guy doesn't know how to play better as a team, so you kind of got to pick up that slack. And it'll show in the end. You'll always be like that, prime, badass, team player. But you see those, you see the rope and then those weeds up on the rock wall behind the monster? That right there, those are called jump zones. Okay, any dual blade master would typically climb up it like this, alright, and then jump off right when the monster is nearby. They would have to do that in order to mount them, and that's why they can only mount maybe 1 to 2, 3 times tops, and that's extremely rare. It really doesn't happen very often. But for us, we should be mounting anywhere from 3 to 4 times every single match, every single hunt, every single harvest, because of the fact that we're able to launch ourselves above. Now, if you launch yourself, right, if you do an aerial attack in those areas, in those zones, the game naturally knows that if a player is in the air around that area, it'll automatically try to mount. So being the fact that we can launch ourselves, we don't have to spend the extra time climbing and trying to outmaneuver just to get that jump method. And if you're not mounting any monster at the very, very least 3 times a hunt, then you're not using the glaive and the environment to its fullest advantage. But this guy he's in the yellow now, so he's pretty freaking wrecked. Let's see, his tail's gone now. We've broken his head. What else? And again, it's the glaive isn't a super strong weapon. It really isn't. It's not the strongest weapon to attack with. A lot of people throw shade at it because it's like, oh, that's a weak weapon. No, man. If you know how to use your kinsects, if you know how to use the buffs, if you know how to not so much master, but just know the fundamentals on how this weapon works, you're literally doing more damage and putting in way more work, and you look way badass strategically doing it the entire game. Okay, and then the last thing I want to show you is the environment. So take real close look at this. So I'm trying to maneuver at this point because I need to sharpen my blade, because the attacks I'm obviously laying are just garbage. So sharpen my blade, but I know he's gonna follow me, right? So being that I'm facing the opposite direction as him, I launch the kinsect. The kinsect's gonna stay up against that wall and kind of chill there. He's gonna go ahead and jump up there naturally. Then, since I told the kinsect to attack it, the kinsect does go and try to attack it. Now, I didn't intend for him to freaking die right there. That was just straight fucking dumb luck. But to use that, I can use my kinsect to lay down damage even when I'm over a side, sharpening my blade. I was gonna try to do some health, you know, shit like that. You know, I can use those kinsects to work for me, and that's the whole part of using the Insect Glaive, the Insect Glaive. Using the Insect Glaive, you use the kinsects to your advantage, let them do the work for you. If you're not letting them do the work for you, then you're just not using them right. Get those buffs out of your opponents. Remember, head is for damage, the body is going to be for speed, the tail will be for either health or knockback damage. Sometimes you may think, oh, that was a glitch, I should have got knocked over, but hey, I'm not going to complain. It could be the fact that you're actually getting those buffs, the knockback buffs, but it'll be a little bit more obvious for that. But that's generally about it, guys. Remember, figure out what kind of player you are so that way you can build the right type of Insect Glaive for you. And that's generally it, man. That's generally it. I had tons of fun making this video, guys. I really appreciate all the support that you guys have been giving me. A lot of my friends, a lot of my personal family and friends, excuse me, have been sending messages through Instagram, Facebook, all that good love. I love all the constructive feedback, and I hope my videos are getting a little bit better here and here, you know, day after day, week after week. But we still have that goal to hit. I'm still doing that raffle. I plan to. I have no responses from you guys whether you guys want the Lifix smart home light that you can control with an Amazon Alexa or a Google Home. I am either going to do that or raffle off the Google Home Mini. Those are pretty dope too. Or maybe like a hand drawing or something a little bit more personal. You guys have to vote so that way I know what I'm going to be doing, what I'm going to be getting. And then as long as we hit 35 new subscribers by the end of February, then I will be doing that raffle off. So please like, subscribe, share with a friend, hit that notification so that way every time I go live or I get a new video posted up, you guys can go ahead and say and hang out and chill with me. But until next time, you guys, Monster Hunter World fans, everybody, you stay geeked.